I'm Michael Seven Michael, and today we have in our studio
Lonely Heart Dayveonne Bussey.
The good guy, Corey Davis.
I'm gonna unmute this. Hold on.
and the one that can't mute her or unmute would be Phoenix Sparks.
Sound effects, people are flying.
All right. So yeah, you're watching GEEKCASTER. Thank you if you're watching us on IG, if you're watching us on YouTube, and of course if you're watching us on cable. Either way, you're watching us, and we definitely appreciate it. Today we're going to talk about a movie Emergency, a movie called Spell. Talk about What's a Good Con and Miss Marvel.
And Jurassic Park.
Which I've heard mixed reviews. So we're
Yeah,
going to go
same
from
here.
there. Hey, Miss Sparks.
Hey.
Having a little technical difficulties with your video. Join us. Ooh. All right, let's start out with Miss Marvel. Dayveonne, I already see the smoke coming up, so you could go ahead. Talk about Miss Marvel. Why should we watch, or why shouldn't we watch Miss Marvel?
Okay, so I'm brief. Well, I'm not even going to do a spoiler. If you read the comic book, you know about the origin. Take some of the stuff that was in the comic book out of the show, and tweak it up a little bit. Jersey-based superhero character trying to find herself in the world. Well, she doesn't become a superhero until blah, 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 blah. But
I got jokes in your description. You basically said nothing, and you described every 14 to 21-year-old female in Jersey.
But overall, I'm going to say this. If you like Spider-Man Homecoming, you will like Miss Marvel.
Okay, now I get some references. Because I'm not familiar with the comic book, and I'm sure there's people out there that aren't. So, someone that's just coming into this.
Yeah, I would say if you're... It's basically... The girl is an Indian descent. You know, I want to... Yeah.
Come on, we only have a half an hour
I was
show.
looking at Corey.
Don't worry about him. He's going to say.
Indian descent. Yeah, lives with a strict Indian family, which certain people have strict families. It's just that they preyed in more into the Indian culture and the Muslim aspect of the story. In the comic book, she get hit with this thing that basically makes the Inhumans, and her arms are stretchy and all that other good stuff. But in the show, her great-great-grandma had this wrist thing that's on her arm, and that's where her powers come from.
Okay.
So they altered the story a lot.
So, I would say that this was a good representation of Jersey City. There are a lot of mixed cultures, and so the newest iteration that just came out was Miss Marvel. If you watch Becoming Miss Marvel, I forget the actress's name. She did an interview or web Zoom about her audition, and she literally was Camila Khan. She was the embodiment. She's her in real life. So I thought the casting was perfect. The storyline can get a little goofy. It's Spider-Man mixed with Deadpool.
Yeah.
But it's very, very young. But it is an enjoyable watch. The first episode did not grab me at all, but the second episode, I became more invested.
You know, sometimes I really appreciate these episodes where half of us have seen it and half of it has not seen the particular content, because it's interesting, like the perceptions when you watch the trailers versus when someone actually watches it, and how it may differ or stay the same. Because watching the trailer, okay, all I thought of was great representation, get it, blah blah blah, but storyline most of the Indian girls that I know. At least growing up, strict parents, that whole stereotype, strict parents, this and that. Which there is culture. There's some of it. There's not stereotype. Stereotype is based on some real fact, whatever. But I felt overall that it was like a Nickelodeon show. I felt it was geared towards preteens and maybe even younger. Was that the vibe? Is that correct? Or no, it's not? Oh, it is correct.
No, you're right. Except some of the music, even though they are of Indian artists, and there's one song in particular called Jalebi Baby, which really is not for kids if you look up the lyrics. But the soundtrack, the wardrobe, there's a lot of representation, a lot of well-known famous people in the show.
Good. And I'm sure that's what the executives were thinking about. Especially Disney has gotten a lot of hot water last couple years of lack of representation. So now it's like, where are all the groups here? Purple kids wearing blah blah blah. All right, let's give them a film. We gotta get the purple kids right. Like it's almost like it's not even like who cares about the story. Let's just get everybody situated. Makes sense. I get it to some degree, right? Like, I think Disney's really trying, and that's why I really respect them, because they're like, well, let's just go all out, give everybody a show, everybody a movie, everybody and you don't see that many other networks and powerhouses going as far as Disney is. And they might not always get it right. It does feel forced, but at least they're trying, and I think we got to give them a lot of props for that. Phoenix, did you get to see Miss Marvel?
So, first of all, I thought it was very inclusive, but I don't know why I'm in the back here.
We can't see you at all.
You can't see me at all? No? That's so weird, because I'm coming up on the screen.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm the voice coming from nowhere. Hello. Oh, that's so odd. On my
we might get canceled. They're like, how come they won't let female representation show? Listen, these days everybody got something to say. So please get your camera on so we don't get canceled for not letting them.
I mean, my camera says it's on, but anywho.
Maybe click it and click it back and see what happens.
I'm sorry?
Maybe turn it off and put it on again? Or
hop
out and hop back in.
So off and on. How about now?
No.
No. All right. Well, I can say my piece on it, and then maybe I'll reappear.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I'm like a little fairy.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very much for the teen group or preteens, or like very family friendly. Great focus on Avengers and kind of like taking a fresh spin on it. A lot of questions about gender roles, culture, general identity things, which I think is really normal for teens growing up. They're like, who am I? And like everything's super overwhelming. And you can see Kamala battling for her independence, as well as straddling that line to consider her family's wishes and those closest to her. Are companies tokenizing diversity? Absolutely. However, I'm just glad to see it. Like, honestly, I think it's good to see this instead of where we were at 5 years ago.
Definitely. And Disney is getting so much. I almost feel it's weird. Like, I almost feel bad for them of just, at least they're trying. You know, at least they're trying, because there's a lot of networks that we won't mention that aren't going as hard as Disney.
Yeah.
You know,
everyone just wants to find something to be upset about.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. So what's next, Corey?
Emergency.
What did you guys think? 'Cause I think I threw this at you guys.
Yes, you recommended it. I thought it was appropriate that I watched it after Juneteenth, because the subject matter of this show was actually the conversation that was going on about Juneteenth, and there's a lot of dynamics here. I was not expecting this, but the plot of the movie is very predictable. The commentary is why you stay invested. So I appreciate it. this movie on some level.
Right. And you know what's so interesting, Corey, as you say that, like, that's why I said I think we need to watch it and talk about it. Because I do think it's something that's worth watching. It's enjoyable. It's not overly mentally stimulating. Even though you know what's going to happen, you really don't, in a way. Because you're like, well, are they going to twist this way? Are they going to twist that? And then the ending, we didn't know. Come on now. You really didn't know when it hit the climax what was going to happen.
I will admit, I didn't finish it. I'm 3/4 of the way through. After this, I will finish it.
Okay. Yeah, it was, I don't know. That was it. But anyway, so we're dealing with, for those that didn't see it, and you could find it on Prime, Amazon Prime, you're dealing with two young guys that come across, two young African American males, be specific, and they come across a Caucasian American woman that is passed out, and it's
In
obvious.
In their dorm room.
In their dorm room, and what do? Do you just call the cops? Do you feel like, so it was like that whole thing of like, well, they're gonna think we did this. They're gonna think the worst, no matter what. Even if we're standing here, when they break down the door and look for this girl, what's gonna happen? Should we bring her to the cops? Should we bring her to the hospital? Well, anywhere along the line, we look guilty, or will we look guilty, just for the color of our skin? And it brings out a lot of conversation on race, trust, and perception, and what people are going to automatically think or assume. Yep.
The one thing I will say is I don't want the idea of the movie to get lost in real life, because if you do, and it gave me a lot of vibes from the movie Crash. If you do happen to come across that, the best thing to do is to call 911.
Oh, we can't hear you, Dayveonne. And actually, when I was watching the movie, there you go. The first person I thought about was, Dayveonne has to watch this. Because Dayveonne repeatedly has brought up, I don't want to say it on the air, but situations in his life and things that he's passionate about, and just miscommunication and perception and this and that, and growing up, and how people just think they know who you are before knowing who you are. This is a theme that Dayveonne brings up often, and I'm like, here's a movie representation of some of the things that Dayveonne brings on in the conversation. So I gotta know, bro, what are you thinking? What did you think of Emergency?
I didn't watch it. I gotta watch it.
What? It was for you.
I know, but I have to, because I had a busy week after the show. It was so busy. It was crazy. It was chaotic.
Wow.
And I will definitely watch it. And but my final thoughts are, but for what y'all said, yes, I do become the guy that I'm the overthinker in the group. I am. Because I always think of different scenarios of how this could play out, and this always come out bad.
Interesting. Well, again, I know I don't want to say much more than we'll maybe talk another time, because you really gotta try that out. All right, Sparks. Phoenix Sparks, did you get a chance to see Emergency?
I peeped it.
Ooh.
I thought there were. Once again, I like how we keep bringing up things with a lot of different elements.
Right.
I mean, there was comedy, there was drama, there was social commentary. It definitely made you think a little bit. I would say about our system, how it works, society, how it's fair and unfair, people who have advantages, disadvantages, how it skews people's paradigms and whatnot. So I would say like 3 out of 5.
Cool.
The one thing I will say about this movie, if you're black, you are going to get a specific message. If you are any other race, depending on your race, you may get a different message. It's not that universal.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's just my take on it, because like a movie like American Skin, where it was flat out, this is the message, everyone got it equally. I can see different cultures extrapolating different ideas from this movie.
Okay. That's cool. Well, all right. Well, audience, check it out. Let's see what you think about Emergency. Leave some comments, hit us up, tell us what you think. Let's move on to Spell, another interesting film. It was a all black cast, which was interesting. Seeing a scary mystery suspense movie where it wasn't the typical film. I would dare to say you forget it's an all black cast. Like you start seeing some people, and then like by the end you're like, oh shoot, that was all black cast. The actors were really, really good. Cora, can you pull up the IMDb and name some of the people that are involved in that? I thought.
Yes, it was Amari Hardwick. He plays the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Loretta Devine plays Eloise.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I forget who played Earl. It was John Beasley. Earl is Loretta Devine's husband. Lorraine Burroughs plays Amari Hardwick's wife in the movie. It was a decent cast.
It was. I mean, some of the things like there's no spoiler here. This might make people want to see it more, but there's a spike that goes into someone's foot, and you see it, and you're like, they take it out, and then they put it back in. Now the audience probably like, well, why would you do? When you see the movie, you'll understand why. But I thought that was crazy. I mean, but it was so gross, even though not realistic. I loved it.
I felt like this took all the genres of horror and put it into this one little B movie.
Yeah. Definitely.
Which I hated it.
Oh, really?
But I hate that I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, it was definitely one of those like, well, let me just see what it is. And at some point, you ever see a movie and you're like, oh, it's all right. But yes. I just need to know how it ends. Like, where are they going with it? It's not even that you enjoyed the ride so much, you just not got to know the ending. Dayveonne, that's how you felt about it?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to see what the ending was.
Yeah. I will not watch this again. And that's the thing that's interesting. There's some great movies, you see it once and it was so good, you're like, that was... I don't need to watch it again. It was so good. And then there's some movies you're like, oh man, I never want to waste time in my life to see it again. And then you have other ones you enjoy so much. You literally could watch that every 6 months, or even more than that. Yeah, this was definitely not a repeater. But I like what they were trying to do. I like the folklore aspect of it, the magic aspect of it. Basically, in this movie Spell, you have a gentleman that needs to spend more time with his family, and a relative passes away, and this is an opportunity not only to give respect to that relative, but also spend time with his family. There are references to them being bougie and just out of touch and spoiled, and there's this connection of being out of touch with roots, which connects to like the magic and believing in the old ways of doing things. Because when it came to being slaves in America, and many other countries where you lost the old ways, the magic, the faith, the belief, the religion and practices. And I thought that was an interesting thing to play on, especially in a suspense horror film. And I thought that aspect was great. And I think that what was the message, besides the fantasy of like what's going on and the magic. But connecting to your roots, staying, connecting to your past, your heritage. What was your takeaway, Corey?
The more I think about it, the more I don't like it, because there were so many plot holes. If you were looking for closure,
yeah.
This movie did not offer it. The idea of the movie, if they were a bigger budget, if they put a little bit more time into it, this could have been a great universe, kind of like The Conjuring.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that kind of potential.
Right.
The commentary that they used, because you thought they were going to go one way, like the mother and the son had a dialogue when the son makes fun of a local, and you think that she's going to chastise him for saying the N-word, but she doesn't. She chastises him for calling him country. And I thought that kind of commentary, where you're not exactly sure where they're going to go, that was the best part of the movie. Everything else, wow. It was rough. That is
interesting. Anybody else got a chance to see it?
Hey, so I liked that it highlighted some traditional horror movie elements, if you will. I noticed there were some similarities to Stephen King's 1990 Misery. However, because of the hoodoo components, it had a very unique twist on it.
Hold on. Shots fired. Because that's a very good point. That's actually the first thing I thought of. Was Misery in this. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. That was good call.
Looking into hoodoo, realizing it is not Haitian voodoo. Those are two different things altogether. And just admired the creative and unique cinematography, and liked that there was a little bit of gore in it. I know that's not everyone's thing, but personally, that's what I look for in a horror movie. So, yeah.
I guess I do have to say this, being of Haitian descent, I did not like that they called it hoodoo. There are ties to voodoo, and yes, there are many branches, because if you follow the lineage where voodoo originated from, how it came from Africa through the Caribbean islands to America, became chastised because people couldn't understand it, and then it just branched off from there. I wish they would have called it voodoo, because it's been the main term. There are other subterms, but I thought they should have explained that a little bit better and gone more into that aspect of it. So that part also didn't sit right with me.
Okay.
Sorry, Corey, is hoodoo different from voodoo?
Yes.
Okay.
Just like how you say, if you go to Louisiana and they are Creole, they aren't the same Creole as the language that Haitians speak. So it's like a different dialect. It's mainly French mixed with Spanish a little bit. It's very different than Haitian Creole.
I think a lot of producers are afraid to jump in because voodoo, for some reason, has such a stronger, like if you say, "Oh, faith," versus I'm doing a Christian film, you know what I mean? Like, a faith-based film is a watered down version of saying, or doing a Christian film.
Yeah.
I say people do that a lot. And usually when you think of the American version, usually you hear the word roots. The first time I actually heard hoodoo, that phrase was literally like the beginning of the pandemic, and this guy hit me up. "Oh, I want you to write a script. I want you to add some hoodoo in the script, some hoodoo." I'm like, what the hell is hoodoo? Who did what? What? Like, I didn't know what the hell. I'm like, hoodoo. Like, what is hoodoo? I'm like, who says that? But yeah.
Oh, so pretty much like some of the stuff from the movie. Y'all remember a movie called Beloved?
I never watched it. I heard of it.
Yeah. Isn't that a book originally? A book?
It was a book, yeah.
What was it about?
Toni Morrison?
No, I think it was. well, long story short, the film is basically about a husband infidelity with one of the daughters. Oprah Winfrey played the mother. In the beginning of the film, you see this dog spinning around in the house, eyes gouged out and everything. And when the dog stopped spinning around in the air, she slowly put the dog's eyes in his skulls. So pretty much, I think one of the daughters died, and she started hallucinating or imagining that daughter was still there and aging with them, or that was the spirit that was pretty much pretty much acting like it was her daughter, and really it was like, it was really good. It was just creepy as heck.
And that's what I think gets misportrayed especially when it comes to voodoo. There are many, like, again, sub-dialects, but a lot of cultures have their own version of voodoo. Like if you go to Mexico, Dia Muerte or Santeria in the Latin community, they're pretty much one and the same. It's just different cultures call it a different name. But because Haitian voodoo became so demonized because people really couldn't understand where it came from in Africa, it just became this taboo thing that we don't talk about because we don't want to understand it, and so it just became like this devil thing, or you're
doing things also with like the books, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the movies that really ripped the ceiling off of that was Serpent in the Sun.
I didn't see it.
Oh, you got it. You are sleeping. You are sleeping, young man. You gotta check that out.
It's going on the list now. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, cheesy graphics, especially near the end, and special effects or whatever. But that really, cultural wise, really made it a thing. And there's also some science watch it. You watch it. In fact, that's everyone's homework. Random old school film. There's a book. I heard there's more details in the book, and it references a lot of things historically. It's supposed to be somewhat of a true story, the book, and then the film. So, but anywho, I think that's our lineup today as far as movies. And then we're supposed to talk about what makes a good con, but we're running out of time. So we're going to have to table that to our next show. So everybody, give the audience your social media.
Dayveonne Bussey on all the things except for Twitch and Twitter. Just your Jamal Williams.
Cool.
You can find me. I am GT3 on all the things.
And Phoenix Sparks _official on Instagram and Twitch.
And I'm Michael7 Michael. You can find me on IG. And yeah, we're running out of time. You're watching GeekCast. Go to GeekCaster.com. Watch our library of shows. You can find us on Instagram, GeekCaster. And also, if you're watching us on cable, if you go to our website, all the cable times and stuff like that. So thank you so much for joining us. And, we're going to continue to give you that sci-fi, fantasy, and geek culture. Here we go.
I'm not doing it.
Do it.
I'm not doing it.